Nirvana right now. Buddhism Anicca, the three mark of existence. Impermanence in itself. Buddhism Anicca, suffering, fleeting, non-self. Anicca, impermanence in itself. Everything is in a state of flux. Nothing remains the same all the time. For example, since we were born, thousands of our everyday things were ruined, broken, or dissolved. This is a general example to simply explain impermanence in itself. It is rare that ordinary people can impermanence in front of us and then let go. Most people buy, find, or create new things to replace the old ones. Somebody may feel sad, suffer, and cry for a while when people they live with or know suddenly pass away and they cannot accept it. This is an example of impermanence in itself. What may be good enough to make ordinary people understand the truth of nature that no one can avoid, impermanence in itself. Then, in their mind, they let go and turn away from attachment to objects to achieve liberation and get back to the origin of nature, which is detachment or nirvana in Pali. However, normally, most people are still not bored enough with what is called suffering and do not accept what is called impermanence in itself. People of any social class or income level will change their mind and way of life when they suffer enough and want to be free from suffering. They will ask someone to teach or tell them how to be away from suffering. Then they will reduce their pride or ego. Suffering, ephemeral, nothing lasts forever. Impermanence of mind continues change of mind and cessation of mental state. There is another example of impermanence in itself. This example explains impermanence in itself that we have seen since we were born until now that we are still breathing. No matter what social class we are in or how rich or poor we are, all of us have to face this truth of nature, which is impermanence of mind, continuous change of mind, and cessation of mental state. Since we wake up to wash our face and brush our teeth, our thought of mind starts working and think about so many things. Even when we finish taking a bath, we still think about this and that. This process continues until we go to bed, and the cycle starts again in the next morning. The fabrication of mind is caused by attachment to what is called self. Attachment to self makes us believe that our mind belongs to us and we have self. Everything our mind constructs has a feeling, and it is our feeling. There is ourselves in that feeling. Attachment to self leads to many mental states of love, greed, anger, ignorance. In fact, No one in this world can stop the mind from working. Even the Buddha cannot do. However, the Buddha achieves detachment from self. Once detachment has been attained, the mind that used to work with ignorance that self exists in mind and every feeling then let go of attachment to self and get back to the original state of mind that has no self. Cessation of mind then occurs. Self disappears every moment, minute, and second. Mind without self still works normally, but freely without obligations or feelings that trigger love, greed, anger, and ignorance. Selfless mind can work as usual, but no longer develop emotions because it can work well, and no junk is left in the brain. In the end, the mind that is still working can even let go of itself. There is nothing to trigger the cycle of begin and end. We call individuals with this pure mind Buddhist saint. Mind creates suffering. Mind is fleeting. Mind has no self. Now, let's talk about how impermanence of mind, continuous change of mind, and cessation of mental state look like. This is the truth of the nature. No matter if we believe it or not, we cannot deny this truth. Our mind will turn every feeling that occurs from what we see, hear, smell, taste, and touch, as well as anything that comes up in our mind into emotions. Emotions that our mind fabricates, such as anger, do not last long, no matter how much effort is used to maintain them. When something new reaches our eye, ear, nose, tongue, skin, and mind, a new emotion, given that it is love, is developed, and then anger becomes unstable. When our ego that we cling to turns to the new emotion of love instead, cessation of the old emotion of anger by itself occurs right away. Even if our ego would like to turn back to the old emotion of anger, it is too late because anger already disappears. Some people may disagree with this point. Why anger still exists now? The answer is that the anger you still feel is the new one. The old one has already disappeared a long time ago. This is the impermanence of mind, which means no emotions can be kept in mind. There is uncertainty, and in the end, cessation happens. No man or spirit in this world can freeze any mental states. For example, anger from yesterday, last week, last month, or last year cannot be maintained. Someone may assume that when they think about what made them angry last year, they feel that anger still exists. Actually, it is the new anger that fabricated self, which can still remember last year's anger, develops. It is not the same anger. The old one has already disappeared since last year. From now on, if you listen to or read this topic, and want to achieve detachment, you can just let go the fabricated ego that you believe it exists to return to its originality of non-self. Also, you may let the mind work on its own. Let it arise and die. No matter how many feelings arise, you should not be worried or alarmed. This is a reflex action of our old belief that we have self and feelings. Just leave it there. No action is needed because these feelings will arise from time to time. This is the effect of karma. In the end, all these things will disappear with no action required. This is because mental karma temporarily arises and then dies. You will see by yourself that no method or trick is required to develop no self because no self already exists. Any feelings that arise will die because of impermanence. Just let the mind work and liberation of mind will arise. Any conditions in the mind will disappear and balance of the mind will arise. Finally, nirvana will arise with detachment from self, from belief in self, and eventually from the mind. Liberation from the self-created prison will be achieved.